Hi everyone, I'm Andrew Bell, a Partner Development Specialist at AWS. I focus on building storage partnerships and storage practices within our ISV partners and consulting partners. Today, I'm joined by Raymond Goh, Pre-Sales Director, APJ at Veeam.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm running the system engineering team for the APJ site, and I'm here to talk about some technical stuff that's going on. Yeah.
Excellent. So we've got a three-part series today where we want to talk about how customers are backing up to the cloud, backing up within the cloud, and also providing disaster recovery and migration outcomes from the data center into AWS. Maybe, Ray, for those who haven't come across Veeam before, maybe tell us a little bit about Veeam and what you've been doing for the last 16 years.
Sounds good. So Veeam has been incorporated in the 2006, and we have been focusing a lot right at the start on virtualization environment with the likes of VMware, Hyper-V, and so on, right? And as we move along into, that is the Act 1 for the first 10 years that we've been doing, and on the Act 2, we have been working a lot on hybrid cloud environment, and that's the reason why we are talking about on this lightboarding over here, right? And we have accumulated a wealth of more than 400,000 customers by now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Why don't you tell us about some of those outcomes inside the data center that customers have been using Veeam for all of these years?
All right, let's start off with something on premises which is endearing and close to us, right? So typically you're going to have your virtual machines that's right on your data centers, and you're going to have your, we call it legacy, but you can put it as traditional physical service, as well as the file service, which is residing on the NAS, and last but not least, the new emerging technologies of containers or Kubernetes that you have over here, K8. And in an environment whereby you have Veeam deployed, there's right Veeam at the center of the core of your data over there. And where do you back up all these workloads that we have into the destination, right? So typically you'll be backing up into your disk storage over here, or usually for compliance standpoint, for long-term archiving standpoint, you will have your data backup into the tape media over here. Yep. Andrew, does it look good on the on-prem environment?
I mean, it's what we've been seeing for the last 20 years, but what I've been seeing probably more recently, and especially with Veeam, is that we're seeing customers start to look at moving that tape workload and storing it inside AWS, whether that is into AWS's simple storage service, or S3,
yep.
Or even into Amazon S3 Glacier or Glacier Deep Archive. Can you tell us a little bit about why customers are doing that?
Okay, let's start off with the challenges that we are facing over here, right? So generally across a lot of the challenges that our customers are facing, number one will be the increase in costs. Mm-hmm. Second will be the increase in the risk over here. Mm-hmm. And thirdly, let me just put it across over here, will increase in terms of the recovery time. Mm-hmm. As the demand for lower recovery time has increased a lot right now. So if you look at how we are trying to reduce the cost or reduce the risk or reduce the recovery time, right? We typically put what is backup within. We want to go into a tapeless environment. So if you look at the tape over here, while we are pushing across the tape or the disk into the S3 storage, mm-hmm. and trying, if you're going to a tapeless, trying to eliminate the dependency of a tape media over here.
Right. And so tapes, I mean, it's been around for a very long time, but I think, especially in today's age when customers are looking for flexibility of recovery and reducing cost, tell us, what are some of the actual challenges with tape?
So I think the operational cost of tape is usually higher. Yeah. At the same time, the recovery time of tape is getting longer and longer, which the demand for better SLA is needed. Yeah. So one of the key things which you might not be even able to recover data from a tape, right? Or you couldn't even recall back the tape and get the data back in. So it's really crucial, and a lot of customers is looking for that. At the same time, imagine you have to manage tons of tapes with the increase or hyper increase of data that you have across, right? So we need something that's a lot scalable, mm-hmm. like S3 object storage, mm-hmm. to put all our data inside there.
Right. So obviously it provides a lower cost per unit or per gigabyte or per terabyte. It's highly available, where
yep.
tape's a physical media, right? So someone could drop it, or it could be stored incorrectly in an air conditioned or non-air conditioned environment, for example. But I think the other challenge is what happens if the tape library is not there? Yep. What happens if there was a disaster and there's no tape library, no data center? Where do you recover to?
Yep.
And I think that's one of my favorite features about Veeam, is that you can back up all of these workloads and provide these great outcomes in the data center. But if something goes drastically wrong, you're not scrambling to try and work out how to put a tape into a cloud. You've got the ability to actually restore those virtual machines into something like AWS's Elastic Compute.
Exactly,
Cloud.
exactly. So that's one of the key reasons, and I'll just add on one more important factor is on the risk side. Immutable object storage is something that customers is looking for to avoid or eliminate the cyber threat of ransomware coming in. So that's also one key aspect from a security standpoint, to store the data from a long-term archiving standpoint into S3 to be able to recover in the shortest possible time as compared to tape. At the same time, it's really secure.
Yeah, I mean, I always hear about Veeam's 32110 rule.
Yep.
Can you tell me a bit about that, and then how that works in this sort of environment?
Thanks for that. I think one of the key thing on the three data that you need to have your data in, right? So obviously on-prem, and now you have one copy into the AWS object storage. It has to be two different medias. You got it there. We have two different medias. Usually to be in the tape, now is in the S3. One has to be offsite and naturally into the AWS cloud. That will be an offsite storage. And the last 1 and 0, the additional 1 and 0 is where Veeam comes into the picture, right? It's unique to Veeam offerings, whereby you have one immutable or air gap to a certain extent into the AWS side, and it has to be zero error. Right. Which means to say that you're able to do that recovery that you mentioned into EC2. That could also be a verification and test of what you're backing up is working really fine.
Awesome. So we really are helping then customers to reduce that cost, right? By using a lower cost storage,
Exactly.
by reducing the amount of management overhead, being able to provide things like deduplication to reduce that. We're helping them reduce risk by providing a highly resilient backup copy off-site, following your rules. 11 nines of durability, availability, allowing customers to be confident that they can recover, but also reducing the recovery time. I can't spell, there we go. Recovery time. So being able to spin up those virtual machines when they need it, or because it's always available, they don't need to wait for the tape to be delivered back to site. If they need to, they can recover from S3 back into on-prem as they need it.
Yep, exactly.
Great to hear. So that's the first video of our series of how customers are backing up to cloud and the value of doing so. Hopefully you'll stick around and watch number 2.